Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's council meeting. If you haven't already, please silent your cell phones. City of Anamosa City Council Agenda Regular Session, Monday, October 28th, 2024, 6 p.m., Anamosa Library and Learning Center. I'm going to inform you of a agenda item change. 7.6 will be presented prior to 4.0 public hearings, as Steve needs to leave for a matter here within the city. 1.0 roll call.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Note all 6 council members are present in chambers. 2.0 Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Three point zero consent agenda, review and approve. 4 items listed. I'll read all 4 items. After that, council can make a motion that includes the word consent, which will bring all 4 up for discussion and a vote. Or council can make a motion on any of the items. Item A, minutes from October 14th, 2024, regular session. Item B, current bills. Item C, liquor licenses. Item D, Noise Street closure permit application. Motion by Kay,
I'll second.
second by Todd, or excuse me, by Dan. It did include, the motion included consent, so all 4 subject items are up for discussion. Is there any public comment? Kaylee, will you conduct a roll vote, please?
Abstain.
Yes. 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 Yes.
There were 5 yes votes and 1 council member abstaining. Motion carries. Now for the agenda change, 7.6, discussion and possible action. Request to recruit, hire temporary full-time Public Utilities Department employee due to current employee's extended leave of absence. Steve Ignish.
Questions? When's he leaving?
We don't know for sure yet.
Like
Sometime in the next 6 or 7 months.
Was this budgeted for, Steve?
No, this was not budgeted for.
And we got anybody else with proper licensing? What's driving this, I guess?
Because we need the help. Because when this person is gone, that'll take us down to 5 people. I already hear different comments that we're not getting jetting done. We're not getting cameraing done. We're not going to be able to get that done if we don't have that extra person. When this individual's gone, we need the help. We're always busy. We're always doing things. And you're gonna tie our hands to 5 people.
I guess my point would be that you have people that are cross-trained, right?
Understand?
And you're the utility superintendent, correct?
Yes, I am.
So basically you run the ship, you tell people what to do,
Yes,
ensure that they get it done, right?
yes, I do.
You sign off on the DMRs and the MORs, right?
Yes, I do.
So the daily duties, in my opinion, and you do have prisoners, correct?
Well,
You-
no,
if
not
you
at the
need-
moment. We don't. We lost the one that we had.
Okay.
Don't know why. Don't know if we're gonna get a replacement, but the prisoner is like having your 12-year-old son or daughter going with you to do things. because they can't drive a truck. The only thing that they can drive is a piece of equipment, whether it's a lawnmower, whether it's a skid loader or an end loader. So you can't send them out to do work orders because they can't go in people's homes. They can't go into businesses. They're restricted on what they can do. So it's a pair of hands, but yet it's not
So
like if you just hire a regular.
do you utilize these guys at the plant, like cleaning and stuff like that?
Yes,
to
we
free
do.
up another employee?
Yes, we do. But like I said, I don't know if we're gonna get another one back. There was something that happened and haven't heard if we're gonna get a replacement or not. But on the flip side of that, I can't go into, I can't call them in at 10 o'clock at night for water main break or sewer backup. I need that person that we can drive vehicles, assist, do everything we need to do work orders, be able to go into homes and all that stuff.
Or are you looking for somebody with a license
Nope.
or
Nope.
just somebody?
Just looking
Just
for
somebody.
somebody that's willing to work and learn, because this will be like Jeremiah stated, it'll be temporary. Once that individual comes back, he'll know that he'll be done.
I guess I'd go back to the point that in the past, we've had as low as 2 employees in each department. And we still got the jetting done. We still hauled sludge. My opinion and mine only is we do less now than we did before.
I think we're really busy all the time. There's a lot of things that we cannot get done just because we don't have the manpower.
And
And then the other thing that you got to take into consideration, the employees that are there have been there long enough, so they have vacation and time off.
I get that.
And so it gets, especially in the summertime, it's really hard to schedule around some of that stuff.
And did your, I guess your sampling frequency at the penitentiary, that reduce over there?
Yes,
So you do less sampling over there?
yes, we only do take 2 samples a week for BOD and CBODs and TSS. But we have a fully certified lab. We're doing as many of the tests that we're certified for right now. So that takes time out of the day too. And for the most part, a little bit of this will be crossover, but when this person goes on leave, there really won't be a increase in wages because you're going to hire that person in at a lot less. So it'll be a wash.
I'm just looking at, we talk about this all the time about watching our budget.
Mhm.
And you factor in the wage, the benefits. I understand all that. And we did not budget for this.
Since I believe Jeremiah looked and it was 2015, there's been a minimum of 6 employees in that department since 2015,
In which department?
water and wastewater combined. So it's been standard practice to have at least a minimum of 6 employees in the department. For departments, it was at that time. Now it's obviously 1.
We're expecting the leave to start though in this budget year and go into next budget year, is that correct?
Correct.
So when we do budget in the winter, we're gonna be having to account for probably half a year with this employee, is that right?
Approximately. The individual will probably be on for, it could be 12, could be 13 months.
Sure.
So I'm just kind of thinking outside the box here. We just hired a guy part-time, correct, for the street department, right?
He's just part of Shane's fall help that he always has.
So is there any thought of if those guys aren't busy, they could pick up the slack?
Shane has enough
That
stuff
need
to
a
do.
body, right?
Shane has enough stuff that
But my. point
his guys
is-
are always busy.
My point is, if it doesn't snow this winter. And you're not trimming trees. And you're not mowing grass, what are we doing?
We'll have the plant to maintain. We'll have other things that we
I'm
have to do.
saying, not your department. I'm saying it
Well-
would free up a body.
I can't speak for Shane.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, I guess some of the details are real clear to me. So are you just looking to get permission? to
Right now, we're
begin this
just
Search,
to begin the search.
but that individual, if you could pin it down, will not start employment until,
We want to get him here for a couple months prior to just to help with the training of the individual. Because it's a lot to take in when you walk into this and you've never done it. But then after that, when that individual leaves, then he'll hopefully be pretty close to being up to speed.
I guess then when would you be thinking about a start date for this individual?
Approximately March 1st.
So roughly 4 months of this year's budget then would be covering that period of time then, right? And then
Probably,
we
yeah.
would be going into the next budget. And I guess I don't know what is the, I know the proposal would be to start them at a public utilities employee at a lower wage rate and not supervisory rate that Robert's currently getting, but what would be the starting rate that you're thinking?
Around 18 or so. 18 to 20, somewhere there. It depends on what the market will, you got to get somebody interested also.
Sure.
Is that following a typical range?
So will he be able to give us like notice when he gets closer?
He will give us as much notice as he can.
Right, but does he have any idea what that
No,
typically is?
no. It's a crapshoot.
And they keep that pretty close to the vest
They
anyway.
keep that, yes.
But when he goes on the leave of absence for that, we're just holding the job. He's not getting paid
Correct.
from us during that period of
Correct.
time. So we're saving approximately 4 months of at least a portion of 4 months worth of salary that we have budgeted.
Mhm.
I know I've asked you this before, and I apologize. With you and Robert, what is the total staff employee for
Cur-
water wastewater? control?
Currently, we have 6.
So the two of you do equal to 6.
Yes. There's currently 6 in the department. And we take our turns doing rounds and everything else on the weekends, just like everybody else.
And you feel that 6 is somewhat of a minimum threshold. You
Correct.
complete task and in a sense, keep the lights on, provide service to
Yes.
residents.
Yes.
How soon are you looking to advertise this? I mean, if you're talking March,
I figured at a minimum by December to start the process.
okay.
Because I don't know how long it'll take to get, somebody reasonably qualified. You know what I'm saying? Not that there'll be a lot of qualifications, but just,
So what exact qualifications are you looking?
well, the biggest thing is that they'll have to make sure that they have a driver's license and can pass a background check. Obviously, those are the keys to be a city employee. It would be nice if they had some, just basic type, maybe a little bit of experience with hand tools, maybe a little bit of experience with, even lawnmowers or skid loaders or something like that. Computer skills, just kind of bare bones. Because everything we do is on the computer. We do rounds on our phone. It's all computer based.
Well, because one question I have is the person who's leaving is your main backhoe operator, correct?
Yes,
So if they're out of the picture, who's going to be the backhoe operator?
it'll be either myself or it'll be Matt, that you guys just hired for the street department, or Shane.
So Steve, there is a program through DMAC. Are you aware of that?
I think I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Where they bring interns in to plants to get time on in a plant.
I've never looked at. I just know that they have it.
Would that be something you consider?
Possibly.
Because I do believe some are unpaid internships, some are paid. Just a thought.
Do you know if Kirkwood has any kind of similar type program?
I'm not certain on Kirkwood, but I do know DMAC, they place their students all over the state of Iowa.
I guess the only really thing that puzzles me a little bit is we don't know a date. And I understand you want to train somebody. I get that. But we don't know a date, and then we don't know a length of time, which that's on not anything we can control. But I just feel like it's kind of a crapshoot whether we hire in March or whenever, because we don't know. We don't know if he's going to deploy here, here, or here,
Please
or
be-
not at all.
Please watch what you talk about with that. The reason why that you said it's not supposed to be public knowledge. Just saying.
The other point I will make is you guys do help with snow plowing, don't you?
Yes, we do. We help every aspect. We all have assignments when it comes to plowing snow.
And I'll go back to if it's not snowing. And we have extra bodies, why can't one of them go down and help you do just basic labor, like you say, hand tools, what have you? I think that could be a possibility. You got any thoughts, Jeremiah?
No, I think it's pretty much the council's decision. Again, since 2015, we have a minimum of 6 employees there. Down below that mark. At some point, I think the law commission's attorneys takes in. Something to be said about efficiency and doing things, more streamlined approach. At what point does it start affecting normal operations? I don't know. There are some question marks. We don't know a lot of the dates. And that
Is there enough time, Steve, to investigate the possibility of an internship? Or do you feel not?
The only reservation I have about the internship is that individual will still have class. And some of the other internships that I've seen has usually been just during the summer months with different programs. So I don't know what their internship amounts to. I mean, if we,
Nor do I.
if we get that opportunity, you know, we could sure take it, and I'll look into it, especially if we don't start applying or advertising till, you know, say December-ish timeframe.
But are those internships, would they be for a year's time?
I believe some of them are, but don't quote me on that. I believe that DMAC program's a 2 to 3 year program. So this is what these people are gonna do for a career, water, wastewater.
Well, I get that if you're in that field, but I'm just wondering, is it an internship for 3 months and then they've got to fill it again and then fill it again and fill it again?
I think it's longer than that, Rich.
The difficulty with internships, because we can't give solid dates at this point, are that you're going to have a spring semester that starts January 1st. And if this position doesn't open until March or April, you're going to have a semester gone before we can get an intern in place. And most of those internships, I would think, would be things they'd want to have in place before the start of the second semester. But I don't think it's a bad idea to look into, but I don't know without firm dates that we're going to be able to count on that.
I can give you the guy's name. If you want to research it.
I can research it.
Well, I'm not advocating either way. I mean, this is a council decision. But as Jeremiah alluded to, the decision before you tonight is if you're going to grant permission to start this review process to see if there's a viable candidate out. Knowing that if there is, you still hold, in a sense, the final decision making to hire and backfill position that may be vacated. Again, don't know the dates. I understand the privacy that has to be there with the dates. But the decision before you tonight is, do you grant Steve permission to pursue finding someone to fill a vacated position when and if it happens? I guess that's how I kind of look at this decision making this evening.
Well, I agree with that. And so I'll make a motion to go ahead and start the process, but with the provision that you look into the DMAC program along with this process to see what potentially could be there. If
I can do that.
I'll second. And there could be very others besides the magazine.
Yeah, I know that Kirkwood has a water and wastewater program
So
too.
you look at all that.
I'll look at it. I'll look into it. I'll get a hold of the program directors and.
So we have a motion by Rich, second by Kay. Council, any other discussion? Public comment? You'll need to come up, Mike. Just please keep in mind that there's some privacy involved with this, that information that we don't have can't be divulged.
Mike Dearborn, 405 North Division. I think you might want to make it clear. I know you said it was kind of quietly, but this city is not paying wages during this leave. Is that correct? So Right. So is that, so that's what confused me a little bit. Is that what you meant, Steve, by uh the dollar amount coming out to a wash?
Yeah.
Okay. The only other thing I can say, the discussion was great, and along the lines of the internships, if they are, non-paying jobs, does it really matter when they start? If you want to start them at a January, whatever the semester is, they're going to learn. I mean, they're going to learn from these guys, whether there's all our employees there or not. Correct me if I'm wrong. Can't they still be on the job? Even if you start in January, you didn't need them till March, they will still learn from you people. And then if you lose that intern in this time frame, you get the next intern and so on and so on. Just keep that in mind that the internship sounds like a pretty good route, or at least to look into. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Can we make sure this is on an agenda item, maybe the second meeting in November, just to keep it on the horizon?
Kaylee, will you conduct a roll vote on the motion?
Yes.
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 Motion to pursue is approved. Thanks, guys. Good luck out there. Be safe. 4.0 public hearings, none. 5.0 proclamations, none. 6.0 postponed items. 6.1 ordinance 963 final reading. Rezoning the property entitled the Cuba subdivision in Anamosa, Iowa from 4R-2 multifamily residential to 5R-1 single family residential.
Again, just for the public's information, this is just approving the rezoning of the subdivision and actual no approval of site plans or flags construction.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd.
Brooke.
Councilman Stewart.
Brooke.
I think Brooke beat me to it.
Oh, I had heard Todd. My bad. We have a motion by Rich, second by Brooke.
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
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 Motion to approve carried. 6.2, review and approve change order for Martin Garner Architecture in the amount of $54,529.04 deduction for phase 2 of the downtown revitalization project.
Hi, everyone. Derek Lumsden, Jones County Economic Development. So I know there were some questions last time and I apologize I couldn't be here. So I was able to come tonight. So Jeremiah put these on for me. I know there are some concerns about the project. I'd like, if we can, to address those under 7.1 because some of these three items, I'm going to say, are somewhat like dominoes. If we don't address these items, it's very hard for me to answer some of your other questions regarding project update. So if we can, I'd like to take each of those top three sort of separately. 6.3 and 6.4 will have somewhat of the same answer, but if we can sort of start there, I think that'll help frame the conversation for us. So under the change order, and I will take full responsibility for this, this came in August. It missed the deadline for your August 28th meeting because it came in after Jeremiah had sent out the packet. It was supposed to go on the next agenda, but unfortunately I had COVID and I was out and I forgot to follow up with Jeremiah. And I thought it had been on there and then Penny left and we couldn't find it. So it was unfortunate, but that's my fault that it wasn't here earlier. It should have been here your first meeting in September to show that we had these change orders and some of the steps that we're taking for the final couple of months of the project. And one of the updates that we're going to be talking about and how that plays into what the council can do going forward. It also addresses liquidated damages, which we'll talk about. But the reason I said earlier that we sort of have to pass this, if you don't pass this, I can't answer some of your other questions that you're going to have later about the status of the project, because I won't be able to answer what some of your options might be, depending on where you feel the project is or where it should be. So that's why I asked Jeremiah to sort of structure this in a very specific way so we can have this conversation. But this change order does decrease the project from the 1.1 million down $54,000. As you may recall, you also approved another change order that brought it down another 4,500. So at the moment, you'd be down, once you pass this, roughly $60,000 from the bid that Pete gave us this time last year.
So we're retaining money, not
Correct.
spending.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a deduction in the overall project cost.
Just want to be sure.
Yep.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Brooke, second by Dot to approve change order. Further council discussion? Public comment? Haley?
Smith,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
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 Motion to approve carried. 6.3, review and approve contract amendment between ECOG and the city of Anamosa for downtown facade improvement project.
All right, so I'm going to talk about 6.3 and 6.4 together. I know they have to be separate motions, but the reasoning and the rationale is somewhat the same. So EasyCog gave us a quote back in 2022 on what administration for this grant project would cost. At the same time, we submitted an application based on construction cost at the time and the number of buildings in the project. Those were submitted to the state and approved based on that estimate because you're not allowed to go out and get an actual contractor bid. So when we received the grant in early 2023, I think we received it in January, February, that we had the approval for it. It had those amounts listed from what were the estimates put in the grant application. And then when we went out to bid and Pete came back as the bidder you all approved, the 1.1, it had jumped up the cost of what we'd initially estimated because we didn't know and we couldn't get contractors to go out and actually bid for us beforehand and give us quotes, because if we do, they're automatically disqualified from becoming a bidder on the project. So we weren't allowed to approach anybody that might be a sub or a general contractor on this. So we had to base it in what 2022, what Bethany and Martin Gardner were seeing for other projects of this kind, and based on the one we had just finished on the south side. So our numbers were lower because 23 also saw inflation stay relatively high. So those numbers came in higher. One of the things that changed as well on the EasyCog side is, as you may recall, we had to go back out and rebid. And that posed an issue because we started in 1 year of a CDBG contract from the federal government. And in that time frame, they opened up their like 5-month comment period that they have to do. They changed some of the rules at the federal level, which then trickled down to the state level. So that happened during 2023 as well. So some of the old rules that we started under got changed on us. Jeremiah can attest. We had our monitoring visit with the state of Iowa this morning, and they listed about 5, 6 new rules that suddenly came into effect midway through our grant. And since we're under technically this year's grant funding, we had to come up to speed and follow those rules. So EasyCog had no way to budget for such a thing, which is why they're asking for a budget amendment to cover the cost of doing that work. And this morning, the state said that EasyCog is actually going above and beyond what's required by the state in order to do these, and that they're doing great A-level work across the board. So some of the things we had to do different, we had to relocate people for this project. As you recall, we had to take the stairs off of 100 East Main. Those people have no other mode of egress. We had to put them up in hotels. There's a mountain of paperwork that comes with that. I had to do part of it, but Deanna did the lion's share of it. We also had to remove a family for lead paint work that had to be done. Since there was a child in the apartment, we had no option. We had to remove those people. They could not stay. So that entails a lot of paperwork and extra testing too. So EasyCog's asking for $5,000 to cover that cost. That could not, there was no way to estimate it at the time. Knowing that that's something going forward for phase 3, which we'll talk about later as well, they know that that's something they have to take into account that can be budgeted for in the future. But since it started in one CDBG allocation rule from the federal government and ended up in another one, there was no way for them to be able to know that that was going to come up. They had no way to estimate for that. And so they only estimate on the times on what they think it will cost to do based on what we did for the first round on the south side. So that's why that budget amendment came up. And this has absolutely nothing to do with peak. It's unfortunate that the federal government changed the rules when we were already in the middle and that we were not grandfathered in under the old ones. Now, that may not be it's right around 5,000. It's not. I don't have the exact number.
$5,000.
Well, it's in the do you have it handy, Jeremiah? I didn't print the exact number off but it is in the contract. It should say.
Well, that's what I'm seeing here. Your original contract was for 29,000,
Yeah, and it's 33 and change now.
33,305.
Yep. Okay, so not even 5.
Move to approve the deficit between the original contract.
Well, if we could just approve the amendment, that would take care of it, the contract amendment. Because that's all it does. That's all it changes.
Second. Motion by Case, second by Teresa. Further council discussion? Public comment? Haley?
Calvert,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Hickman, Dugan,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Motion to approve amendment carried. 6.4, review and approve budget amendment request to the Iowa Department of Economic Development for the downtown facade improvement project.
Okay, so this is the other thing that came up. Part of the reason we had to do easy cogs first, because that amount is included in the budget amendment, which you'd be approving next. But anytime that you have a change in the cost of a grant funding through CDBG, if it's over a certain percentage of the overall cost, and in CDBG's case, it's 5%, you have to do a budget amendment. Kind of like cities do every year. You plan a budget 16 months in advance and you have to do a budget amendment. Here's what we thought we were going to spend. Here's what we spent. The state requires the same thing, and so does the federal government. So when peak came in at 1.1 million, or let me back up. Sorry. We went out to bid, as you may recall, first in the spring of 23. We got one bidder, and that was Tricon. And at that time, we had 11 buildings in the project. Well, when the state said now the new rules are in effect and we have to go back out and rebid and follow different public hearing rules and publish in the paper and do a whole bunch of different stuff, we had to go back out and rebid. And so between the first bid and the second bid, a building owner had to drop out for personal reasons. And so that took it down to 10. That was a roughly $80,000 piece of the project, which automatically took us over that 5% mark. Add that into the change orders we've seen, which have deducted from the project. We were always going to have to do a change order. It wouldn't have mattered if it was Bob the builder doing the project. The moment that somebody dropped out of the project, we would automatically have this budget amendment that we would have had to have done to show the state what had changed from the initial grant application, which was 2 years ago, to where we are now. So that's why this amendment's coming at the end of the project, to make sure we should be out of the woods on all change orders that would negatively impact it. So you have the, close to $60,000 you took off in change orders, and then the other 70 to 80 we took off in a building dropping out. So that put us around 9-10% of changes in lowering the cost of what the project would have been. And that's why we have to do a budget amendment. And this, again, doesn't matter who the contractor was. This is something that's required by state and federal law when you hit that threshold of percentages.
So we just need to approve the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, so move.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley?
Anderson,
Yes.
Calvert,
Yes.
Yes.
Hickman, Dugan,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve amendment carried. 7.0 council action item. 7.1 project status update downtown facade improvement project Derek Lumsden.
I'm going to talk about it in 2 buckets again. Sorry, I got so many buckets tonight. Phase 2 and phase 3, because I know there was a question about phase 3 that came up. For phase 2. So now that we passed the change order, I can talk about this in a little more cyclical of a fashion. So in August, we hit the substantial completion threshold that was supposed to be 95% complete. At that time, Peak had not hit that threshold. And so the language around liquidated damages in the contract and substantial completion are a little vague. And unfortunately, that was something at the time Bethany was like, if we implement it here, we lose leverage down the road. So the conversation became, is there a way to gain the city leverage down the road, still get the project done and done relatively soon, and have it meet all the criteria for the state and federal government? So what we looked at was, and you approved this, I think, a couple of months ago, was extending the contract by 35 days from substantial completion. So the actual final completion date became September 23rd, I think it was, 2020, whatever that Monday was, September 23rd, I think is the date. Anytime after that, if Peak was not 100% complete with the project through something that was not their fault, or it's something they couldn't, unless it was something they couldn't control, they were charged $1,000 per day liquidated damages. And that would come out of the retainage, and that would come out of the pay apps that you guys have not yet seen. So every day beyond September 23rd, September 23rd, they've been being charged to be on site. And so that's one of the things that we've been keeping track of, myself, Bethany, and Deanna, to make sure that we're not paying for that work, but they still have to get the work done. They're still under contract to get that work done. And I know there's been some work that they had to come back and redo. There's some work that wasn't spec'd out to the degree that they had hoped it was. And so they came back and did as well. So I know there's probably a lot of questions and comments on that. One thing I would like to remind the council is, though, that Peak is technically ahead of the schedule that Tricon was on. And Tricon got an extension as well. So Peak is actually scheduled at the moment to be done ahead of what Tricon was when we did phase 1. The other thing I will say, and I don't think they're any stranger to this, Tricon and Peak are very similar companies. In fact, Peak is started by former Tricon members. The thing that Tricon did exceedingly well that Peak is not good at all is communication. Owners of the properties on the phase 1, they would talk to owners all the time and say, you know what, we ran into this. Here's the issue. I'm going to talk to Bethany. I'm going to talk to Derek. We'll get it worked out. Like they were on it. Peak does not have that level of communication. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes in. Not only on my side, I'm sure Jeremiah gets some of it. I'm sure some of you all get it. I know the owners are frustrated. It's something that Bethany and I and Deanna at EasyCog work on constantly to get a timeline. What's missing? What's left? Where are we at? And it's something that on our end, we're doing everything we can. At the moment, we do not have a final date set for when it'll be. And I mentioned in the mayor last week, and I misspoke, it wasn't 2, it was 3. There were 3 doors damaged in transit. And the company confirmed it was their fault, not Peak's. So that's not something Peak is responsible for. There's other things that they don't have done that they are responsible for, but I do want to say there are a couple things outside their control that they are not responsible for. So it's something that we continue to work on. You do, like I said, have the leverage of liquidated damages. So that retainage will continue to dwindle away until it's gone, and then it will go into the pay apps that you have not seen yet. We are holding a pay app for you because we're waiting on one piece of documentation, but because of that, you have another pay app or 2 that have yet to be submitted because of those very reasons. So the leverage you have, obviously, yes, is withholding payment. But there are certain rules and regulations through CDBG on when you can withhold that payment. That's something that Bethany and Deanna keep a sharp eye on, but that's also why we keep track of the liquidated damages as well. I don't have any specific questions. Like I said, I can probably answer some of them. Some of it's a little vague still since we don't have a final timeline. We are hoping that in the next few weeks, it's all done. Even the new doors and stuff that had to be reordered and reshipped will be here and installed.
Derek, as far as the quality of craftsmanship,
Mhm.
the property owners, are they now pleased with whatever has gone back in and had to be repaired or replaced?
For the ones I've talked to, yes. I know that there's been a couple that they didn't have any issues with their buildings and they've loved what they've seen. And I think that at the end of the day, hopefully that's what we are seeing. Every construction project has issues. I've done these all over the state for 15 years and I've never had one go smoothly, unfortunately. I'm hoping one of these days I will. But, for the most part, it looks great downtown. They've done a great job. Are there some things you could nitpick? Sure. But for the most part, I think it's gone relatively well considering. And considering Peak's never done one, just like last time Tricon had never done one. Sometimes it's unfortunate learning opportunity on the job for them as well.
will that communication with the property owners occur? Are you, how pleased is it done to your satisfaction?
No,
That will not occur?
well, I mean, on Peak side,
No, just-
in general,
yes.
I think so. I mean, they always know they can get a hold of me. I get calls on the weekends at night. I mean, when I'm at kids' ball games, I get calls and texts and emails at all hours, and I try to respond when I can. I'll go visit building owners. If there's a question about something, if I need to look at it, take pictures, I'll loop Bethany into an email if it's necessary. So, I mean, I think on our side, Bethany, EasyCog, myself, Jeremiah, City, I think we have that communication pattern down. It's just something Peak doesn't quite have.
That's the reason for my inquiry, being is we know that there was some issues. And there seems to be a breakdown in communication.
Yep.
Then one of the three parties need to be the facilitator.
Yep, and that's what we tried to do. And Bethany's done it on her end. At some point, you can't make somebody talk to you is the unfortunate part. But we do try to keep in touch with every owner as best we can, kind of like we did the first phase. I don't know, did we do a good job of that first phase?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. But that would be the phase 2 update. If you have questions, I can address phase 3 real quick too.
Please go ahead. I'm not hearing any.
Okay, so on phase 3, I know that came up last time. There was a pay app on the agenda. Phase 3 obviously is a completely different phase. Martin Gardner is doing that phase and the design phase and stuff as well. We currently have 11 properties signed up for that. And we're looking at going through all the steps, the slum and blight resolution and all that fun stuff that we have to do to prepare the grant application. And so far, it sounds like we're going to have 11 properties go through to the final phase, which would give us 31. At the moment, we do not have a date from the federal government yet on when we can submit. Probably because it's an election year and they have other things they're doing. But the hope is that sometime in either late January or early February, we'll be able to apply for that. We'd find out if we got it sometime next late spring, early summer. We go through the design phase and everything, probably in the late summer and early fall, go out to bid next winter and start construction if we got it spring of 26. So that's sort of the time frame as to where we're at. You will see probably at least one more bill from Martin Gardner and EasyCog a piece on phase 3 because of all the work they have to do on the application side. But that's why I know it get confusing with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and they all kind of overlap to some degree. But phase 3 is moving along as though we are going to be able to do so once we find out the date. Thanks, guys.
Public comment. Does the public have any comment on the project status update? Thanks again, Derek, for being present to address those 4 agenda items. 7.2 project status update, HR Green.
Good evening, Melissa Clow with HR Green. We'll walk through the projects really quick. 3rd Street sidewalk, award letters, funding agreements are to be sent to the city by the DOT after October 1st. I'm not sure if you've received them yet. Okay, I can check with them on that about the status. And then we are wrapping up the proposed service agreement and scope of services for the final design of that project to have for consideration at the next city council meeting so that we can begin on final design. I was made aware by the DOT that funding for construction will not be available until after July 1st of 2025. So there's no change on the sidewalk program, no change on the well 7 siting study. Josh Scanlon was out of the office last week, so I apologize. I do not have his updates on the update in your packet. So I will get this to Jeremiah. Going through his notes, the permanent sodium hypochlorite tanks, pumps, and equipment are installed and in operation for the water treatment plant disinfection. City's system integrator will be completing updates to the plant's SCADA system to finalize automation of the system. The new equipment is in operation. Final updates to plant SCADA system is being scheduled to automate the new equipment into the plant control system. The project is 95% complete. The sewer in the alley between Ford and North Huber. I believe the city council agreed for the attorney to pursue eminent domain at the last council meeting. This is estimated to take approximately 4 months, so we are preparing for construction to begin in the spring on that project, unless we hear differently. City GIS cemetery mapping project work is ongoing on updating headstones and plots, lead service line inventory. We have provided a spreadsheet of the lead service line inventory to Steve and Robert for submittal to the Iowa DNR prior to October 16th EPA deadline. And then the fire department map has been printed and was delivered to the fire station. As far as the Dillon Military Bridge, I don't have any large updates. I did want to let you know we will be submitting a pre-application for the regional TAP funding. Jeremiah and I had a discussion with ECOG last week. There is potential for statewide TAP funding as well as recreational trails funding. Depending on how we word it, it would be for the rehabilitation only. It would not cover the relocation of the historic bridge. But I've talked to ECOG and it would be able to be that funding, if we did receive it, it could be put towards a new bridge if the historic one is relocated. So there are still options there. And then I'm continuing to work with DNR, state staff, and then also federal national parks to identify additional funding, and we'll keep you posted on that. Are there any questions?
Are you aware if the submittal of to the Iowa DNR for the lead service line, did that occur prior to the October 16th deadline?
I would have to ask Steve or Robert. I know that they received the spreadsheet in time for that submittal prior to the 16th. So.
Also, any questions?
Is there funding available for that bridge if we don't move it?
So that TAP funding would be available for the rehabilitation in place if it's not removed.
Okay.
So we could use the regional statewide TAP and recreational trails funding and any other potential funding for rehabilitation for it to stay in place. But I'm trying to find a way that if we secure funding, we would still have the option to relocate it if we don't get enough funding for the whole rehabilitation. And to still be able to use that funding and not have to turn it back around and give it back.
Thanks, Melissa, for those updates.
Thank you.
Seven point three, resolution 2024-55. Approving the hiring and setting the salary for the position of city clerk for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
You're happy with your selection?
We are, yes. We had 34 total applicants. Pretty quick.
Wow. Move to approve.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Council discussion. I will inquire on public comment, knowing that this is a personnel matter and response may be very limited. Kaylee, will you please conduct a roll vote?
Yes.
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 Motion to approve hiring carried. 7.4, resolution 2024-56. Approving an agreement for the leasing, assignment, or sale of existing dark fiber located in the city of Anamosa right of way by Interstate Power and Light Company.
Haven't switched to, I'm not sure if we have everything from a line to the other one. Possibly to and be able to try to feel on but they're already not. I think that I summarized most of it for the most part, essentially on home use, utilities, and there will be some lease and out to others. Just looking for this resolution to allow that to happen.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Julie Vandyhoof, and I'm with Alliant Energy. I am originally actually from Macokota, not too far from Anamosa, and we actually have an operations center right there in Anamosa, as many of you know, right behind Tyson's. So I'd be happy to answer any questions as it relates to this resolution, or provide any additional details as well.
Julie, my understanding is that to summarize, your Alliant would be looking to sublease structure within Anamosa's right of way.
So just to give a little bit of background, Alliant Energy has a fiber network that connects our facilities across the state of Iowa. It's just over 400 miles worth of connection. And a portion of our fiber network we're not using. And there are a variety of interested, whether there be internet service providers or other entities that have an interest in actually leasing some of those dark fiber facilities for their use. Any revenue that we would receive would help to offset customer cost. So for example, Anamosa customers, along with customers across Alliant Energy's footprint in Iowa, would benefit from those lease agreements. So they're actually strands of fiber within a conduit or conduit itself that is buried under the ground, and it's already under the ground. So there would be no new construction builds associated with that necessarily. There's obviously, anytime there's any maintenance or updates that are needed, we'd work closely with city officials on any of those needs too.
This, I imagine this is something that Alliant has been involved with in the past, and it's not new, something new you're launching?
It is relatively new, actually. We're just finishing the build out of our fiber facility system in Iowa. We've completed it through Anamosa for some time, but we're finishing the build out. Actually, the last route goes from Cedar Rapids over to central Iowa. And with that, we're obviously talking with different internet companies that have an interest in using those excess available conduit or dark strands. We've done a couple pilot projects with internet service providers just to make sure that, as we look at opportunities to help bring benefit to our current customers and also help get internet services in more rural areas. We did those 3 pilot projects and hope to build upon that and really help it be a win-win, where we're helping communities that would like more broadband services or higher speeds. We're not the telecom provider. We would simply be providing an opportunity for entities to use the system if they choose to. So it's relatively new, but we've done a few pilot projects, and we've also seen this done in other parts of our state as well.
You've done this in other communities then?
We've actually done it in a couple communities in Wisconsin. And then this resolution, we have worked with, I want to say right around 15 other communities. It's communities that go through or have city limits along our fiber route.
And how has the feedback been with those communities that you've done this with already? Have they had any issues that we need to be concerned about, or has it gone pretty smoothly?
It's actually gone really smoothly. We met this summer with the Iowa League of Cities. As you know, you're probably familiar with the League of Cities. They actually helped us craft the resolution, and they're in support of that resolution as well. I believe Mike Wagner may have shared that letter along with the draft resolution. Very supportive of it, and communities have been excited about it because, especially in rural areas, I mean, even outside of Anamosa, there's internet service providers that are hoping to bring broadband to other portions of the state. And we're not that telecom industry, but we're kind of the highway underground where they can connect to it, really. But it has been very positive.
Jeremiah, did Patrick look at this agreement? And he didn't weigh in on it. Okay.
What's the length of the agreement?
Well, I think as the agreement's written, I don't believe there's an end date. It's a resolution allowing us to have third-party access or leasing of portions of the fiber system. And that includes both an available conduit and dark fiber strands.
Just to clarify, then you Alliant will be doing the vetting process through companies or individuals they will be leasing to, and that makes this the Alliance responsibility?
Yes. And if there were to be a new internet service provider in Anamosa, they would have to return to the city council as it relates to engaging, obviously, with residents or going through that telecom process. So this system is really referred to kind of as that middle mile, where we have the infrastructure in the ground, and it's available for interested parties to use, and any financial benefit helps to offset cost to customers.
Don't see any problem with it.
So is that a motion?
Anybody else have anything that they're concerned with?
Well, I'm just, the one thing I've seen in here that is the selling part. I guess what's that entail? Because the agreement says to lease, sell, or otherwise assign in part, in whole or in part, dark fiber conduit. So does that
Sure.
mean,
Well, I can,
huh?
no, so just candidly, I mean, at this point, we have no plans to sell. The dark fiber, I mean, we plan to enter into, they're called either IRU or lease agreements as it relates to using the fiber facilities. So we would lease it out through one of those terms to interested third parties. And I'm not an attorney, but that's something that our attorneys worked with the League of City Attorneys on the draft resolution language that's before you tonight.
If there was that point where sale would be a possibility, how does that feel franchise to exist? I'm assuming that would be something that would have to come back before the council. For the council to make a decision with it not.
So I apologize. I didn't hear that question. Is it possible to repeat it?
Not sure if my microphone is working. I've been told it's kind of quiet. Alliant has a franchise with the city, so if you were going to sell, or in this case of that specific section where it says to sell, I'm assuming that would be something that would have to go back to council. We're talking about a permanent sale of the portion.
So specific to our franchise agreement, that is for our electric service. So yes, if there were anything that impacted our franchise agreement, that would be something that would have to come. This resolution is specific to our fiber facilities. And so it's specifically related to the fiber. It's a system that's underground. And if we were to lease out any strands or unavailable conduit, or do any repairs or updates, or even kind of the filling in of the empty conduit, that would be allowed through this resolution. But if there is anything as it relates to our separate franchise agreement, yes, that would definitely need to come back to the city council.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Brooke, second by Todd. Further council discussion? Public comment? Haley?
Yes.
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 Motion to approve agreement carried. Julie, thank you for taking time to
Yes.
zoom in and chat with us.
Yes, thank you very much for your time and your support. And we're always happy to answer any questions about this topic or our partnership we have in Anamosa.
Thank you. 7.5, Resolution 2024-57, approving the placement of 2 children at play signs in the public right of way of the alley by St. Patrick's Park connecting North Garnavillo Street and North High Street.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley?
Yes.
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 Motion to approve carried. 7.6 has previously been discussed. 7.7, review and approve supplemental agreement for additional services from Snyder and Associate for the wastewater treatment plant flow equalization improvement project.
I did want to pass along from Nick Eisenbacher with Snyder. He apologized to explain one thing tonight. That's something that not make this. I don't know if the inspector had any additional information on the front side. This is originally agreed on back in 2019. And this is just a supplemental agreement for additional services. I know it's summarized the construction administration of state.
I make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Todd. Council discussion.
I just wish this project would get over with.
Me too.
So public comment. Haley, please.
Yes.
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 Motion to approve carried. 7.8, review and approve site plan review for 109 Davidson Boulevard. AC's 24/7 fitness.
Have the application as well as several reports and for this property, the site review on it. Have been in consistent communications with the property owners. I think there's a possibility with some additional, assistance of some sort, but that's for another day. We decided to review. As you can see from our, the reports, everything was fine. We corrected a few minor things for traffic flows that were possibly just backwards. Really, there was no issue with this. So,
Move to approve. I have the motion by Todd,
I'll second that.
Rich seconds. Council discussion. This went before planning and zoning and they fully endorsed it.
the site plan did not, no, this was just done by our internal site plan review committee. Planning and zoning has been involved along with the, adjacent, aspects of the, business itself. So, and I'm not sure what we, in the future, I think we'll certainly consider about that.
Very well. Anyone else from council? Any public comment? Haley?
Robert?
Yes.
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 Weimer?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve plan carried. 7.9, review and approve consent agenda. Pay request totaling $3,329.34. There's two items before us. Council can make a motion that includes consent, which will bring both items up for discussion and vote. Or council can make a motion on any of the individual items. Item A from Lynch Dallas PC in the amount of $2,329.34 for professional legal services. Item B from EC Cog in the amount of $1,000 for the City of Anamosa Comprehensive Plan Phase 1.
I'll move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Kay. Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley?
Anderson?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
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 Motion to approve consent carried. 8.0 City Administrators Report. 9.0 Mayor and Council Reports. 9.1 Mayor's Report. I do not have any. 9.2 Council Reports.
Well, the library is gonna have cards for sale, but since Kate can't remember exactly what they are, she's gonna ask Aaron to help her out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erin, library director. So the library is going to be doing a fundraiser. So we recently got a new water bottle refill station, which is fantastic. We got some grants for that, but it was a little more expensive than we were originally hoping. So we're doing a fundraiser just to raise that money back up. And so we're going to have two options for the fundraiser. So there's going to be a 5-pack of cards for $15. It's going to include Dolores Shadwell, if you know her. She's a local artist. She donated her artwork for this. It is a card that has a picture. There's 5 in there. So one is the old library, fitting, we thought, the old post office, one of the prison, and then the cemetery or Dillon Military Bridge, and then one of the old community hospital. We also are going to be selling postcards, so not cards, but postcards for $1 each as we have supplies. And then we are also going to be selling a second set of cards. That's going to be a watercolor that was done by Donna Jamelin of the library. And there's also a photo in there of the old library that was done by Wayne Yonda. So that's going to be coming up. Look for it. Probably the 5th of November is when we're going to hope to start sales. So that'll be coming up.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Anything to add on that
No,
fine report?
face the whole, and I looked at my notes tonight in the car and there was just nothing there about the cards. It was all about other things. But now if you'd like for me to talk about something else, we can talk about I'll come up with something.
I guess feel free. Is there any other council reports?
Just remember to turn your clocks back this weekend.
10.0 public comment for items not on the agenda.
Well, I'm not part of the public, I guess, in this setting, but we had a very successful week last week. I think all of the athletic teams up at the high school that had chances to move on did. We had, I think girls volleyball did well last week. Our football team apparently pulled off a great 2-minute drill at the end of the game last weekend. And I think we had cross-country team, girls team made it, or boys team made it. And I think we had a individual female make it. So it just, our school district is continuing to do well. So I think it's good that we point that out.
Thanks for that, Todd. Hearing nothing else, 11.0 adjournment. This evening's meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.